Husband kicks deaf wife and 5-year-old daughter out of house. 13 years later, daughter. 18 years ago, in a small town, Emma lived a simple life with her husband, Richard, and their bright-eyed 5-year-old daughter, Lily. Emma was a kind-hearted woman who was deaf but communicated with her family through sign language. Despite her efforts to be a good wife, Richard grew increasingly frustrated. He saw Emma's deafness as a burden and felt trapped in a marriage that no longer met his needs. Financial struggles added to his bitterness, and he often took out his anger on Emma, blaming her for everything that went wrong. One night, after losing a significant amount of money in a gambling game, Richard's temper boiled over. He hurled insults at Emma, his voice growing louder, though he knew she couldn't hear. Finally, in a fit of rage, he dragged her and Lily to the door, throwing them out into the cold night. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she held her daughter's hand tightly, refusing to let her see fear. As Richard slammed the door, Lily cried out, "Daddy, please!" But it was no use. He had made up his mind, leaving them with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Alone, under the dim glow of a streetlight, Emma hugged Lily close and signed to her, "We will be okay." Despite the harshness of the situation, Emma felt an unshakable resolve rise within her. She would protect her daughter, no matter what it took. The first night was the hardest. With nowhere to go, Emma and Lily huddled together in a small alley, using their thin jackets to shield themselves from the cold. As dawn broke, Emma noticed a community center nearby. Though tired and hungry, she led Lily there, hoping to find a bit of warmth. The center offered them a temporary refuge, but it was clear they couldn't stay long without a plan. Emma refused to dwell on her husband's cruelty. She focused on what needed to be done. Despite her inability to hear, she was a quick learner, and soon she started taking up odd jobs wherever she could find them, cleaning, washing dishes, and even mending clothes. Each day was a challenge, but with every small paycheck, Emma felt a little more confident. Lily, always curious and full of questions, noticed her mother's exhaustion. One evening, as they shared a piece of bread for dinner, Lily signed, "Why do we work so hard, Mommy?" Emma smiled and signed back, "Because we're strong, and strong people never give up." Lily nodded, her little eyes shining with admiration for her mother. As weeks turned into months, Emma's skills grew, and her reputation for being diligent and kind began to spread. Though they were still poor, they were surviving, and that was more than enough for Emma. In her heart, she knew that one day, things would change for the better. One rainy afternoon, Emma was cleaning tables at a local bakery when a gentle, elderly woman named Mrs. Thompson walked in. She watched Emma for a while, noticing her efficient movements and the way she kept an eye on Lily, who was quietly reading in a corner. After some time, Mrs. Thompson approached Emma, her eyes filled with warmth. "You're a hard-working woman," she said. Though Emma couldn't hear her words, she understood the kindness in her expression. Through simple gestures and a bit of writing on a notepad, Mrs. Thompson learned Emma's story. Touched by the young mother's determination, she offered Emma and Lily a small room in her home, free of charge. Emma hesitated at first, unsure if she could trust this stranger. But Mrs. Thompson's sincerity won her over. "You deserve a chance," she wrote, pressing the paper into Emma's hand. Moving into Mrs. Thompson's home felt like stepping into a new world. For the first time in months, Emma and Lily had a warm bed and regular meals. In return, Emma helped around the house and started baking cakes in Mrs. Thompson's kitchen, a skill she had always enjoyed. Her cakes quickly became popular, and soon the bakery owner offered Emma a steady job. Mrs. Thompson's kindness not only gave them shelter but also restored Emma's faith in humanity. Lily, now able to attend a nearby school, thrived in this newfound stability. And their future started to look a little brighter. Back in his lonely house, Richard's life was falling apart. Without Emma to manage the household and Lily's laughter to lighten his mood, he sank deeper into his vices. His gambling habit grew worse, and before long he found himself in debt to dangerous people. One by one, his so-called friends abandoned him, tired of his excuses and bad temper. Richard lost his job after an angry outburst at work, and soon he could no longer afford the mortgage on the house he had once shared with his family. As he watched the bank repossess his home, he began to feel the weight of his mistakes pressing down on him. But instead of admitting his faults, Richard blamed everyone else, his boss, his friends, even Emma. The years passed, and Richard drifted from one rundown apartment to another, barely scraping by. He would often drink himself to sleep, haunted by memories of the family he'd thrown away. Sometimes he'd hear whispers about a talented baker named Emma and her bright daughter, but he refused to believe it could be his Emma. After all, he had convinced himself they were better off without him. But deep down, Richard knew the truth. He was the architect of his own misery, and the longer he denied it, the more he lost. Yet even at his lowest, he still couldn't muster the courage to seek them out and apologize. Lily grew up watching her mother's resilience and strength. By the time she turned 12, she had developed a fascination with how people communicated and wanted to help those who struggled with hearing loss, just like her mother. She told Emma, using sign language, "I want to be a doctor, Mom. I want to help people hear again." Emma's eyes welled with tears of pride, and she nodded, signing back. "You can be anything you want, Lily." Inspired by her mother's determination, Lily threw herself into her studies. She excelled in science and showed an uncanny ability to understand complex medical concepts. Her teachers often praised her, but it was her mother's quiet support that meant the most. Whenever Lily felt overwhelmed, Emma would remind her, "You are capable of great things." One day, Mrs. Thompson, who had come to love Lily as her own granddaughter, took Lily aside and told her about a special scholarship for young people interested in deaf studies. "I want you to apply," Mrs. Thompson encouraged. "You're destined to make a difference." Lily, now a teenager, applied and was accepted with glowing recommendations. As she prepared to leave for the scholarship program, Lily promised Emma, "I'll come back for you, and when I do, I'll be a doctor." Emma nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "I'll be waiting," she signed. It was a promise that would carry them both through the next chapter of their journey. Lily's journey through medical school was challenging, but she faced each hurdle with the same determination she had inherited from her mother. Every day was a test of her strength, as she balanced her demanding coursework with part-time jobs to make ends meet. Despite the pressures, she never lost sight of her goal, remembering the sacrifices Emma had made for her. Emma, in turn, continued working at the bakery, sending what little money she could to support her daughter. Though they lived apart, their bond remained unbroken. Every month, Lily would send a letter to Emma, written in large, clear handwriting so Emma could easily understand it. Emma cherished each one, tracing the words with her fingers, feeling her daughter's spirit in every line. When Lily received letters from her mother, they were always filled with encouragement and love, reminding her to stay strong. As time went on, Lily gained recognition for her dedication and intelligence. She stood out in her studies, and her professors often spoke of her potential. Yet, despite her success, Lily remained humble, always thinking of Emma and the struggles they had overcome together. It was this humility and deep sense of purpose that made her excel even further. One evening, as Lily looked out over the city from her tiny apartment, she thought about the years that had passed and how far they'd come. "I'm going to make you proud, Mom," she whispered to herself. And with renewed determination, she returned to her books, ready to conquer whatever lay ahead. Just as things seemed to be improving, life threw another hardship their way. Mrs. Thompson, who had become a grandmother figure to Lily, fell ill. Despite receiving the best care they could afford, she passed away, leaving Emma and Lily devastated. In her will, Mrs. Thompson left her house to Emma, but with rising costs and no steady income, Emma feared they might lose the only home they had known for years. Emma found herself once again taking on multiple jobs to cover expenses, refusing to let her daughter worry about her from afar. She even considered selling some of the precious few belongings she had accumulated, all while keeping her fears hidden from Lily. "You focus on your studies," she wrote to Lily. "I will be fine." But Lily could sense the strain in her mother's letters, and it fueled her determination to succeed. As the months passed, Emma's health began to falter under the weight of her responsibilities, yet she refused to let it slow her down. She worked from dawn until dusk, hoping that every penny she saved would keep them afloat. Meanwhile, Lily found ways to contribute. tutoring other students and taking on weekend shifts at a hospital. It was a difficult time, but they both drew strength from their love for one another. "I will make it," Lily promised herself, her mother's words echoing in her mind. "I will make a better life for us, no matter what it takes." And with that promise, she pushed forward, knowing that they were inching closer to a brighter future. Just when things seemed their bleakest, Lily received unexpected news. She had been selected for a prestigious scholarship to continue her studies abroad, focusing on advanced techniques in hearing treatments and surgery. This was an opportunity that could change their lives forever. When she called Emma to share the news, her voice shook with excitement. "Mom, they're going to pay for everything," she signed over the video call. "This is our chance." Emma's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't just tears of joy. They were tears of relief. "You did it, my love," she signed back, her hands trembling. "You've made all our dreams come true." Emma knew that this was the breakthrough Lily needed to fulfill her dream of becoming a doctor. Before leaving for her studies, Lily made one last promise to her mother. "When I come back, I'll build you a home where you never have to worry again," she signed, her eyes full of determination. Emma simply nodded, pride shining through her tears. "I believe in you," she signed back. And with that, Lily set off on her journey. In the years that followed, Lily excelled in her studies abroad, learning from the best doctors and specialists. She developed new techniques to help people with hearing loss and even began designing devices that could improve their quality of life. Her name started appearing in medical journals, and her reputation grew. But through it all, she never forgot the promise she made to her mother. Meanwhile, Richard's life had taken an even darker turn. Homeless and sick, he wandered the streets, haunted by memories of the family he'd abandoned. He often heard whispers of a young doctor named Lily who was gaining fame, but he refused to believe it was his daughter. "It can't be," he muttered to himself, clutching a bottle of cheap liquor. "She was just a kid." One day, while begging for money on a busy street corner, Richard spotted a newspaper with Lily's face on the front page. "Local girl becomes leading specialist in deaf studies," the headline read. Richard's hands shook as he picked up the paper, reading every word. There, in black and white, was the story of his daughter's success and the mention of her mother, Emma, who had supported her every step of the way. A mixture of regret and shame washed over him. He had lost everything because of his anger and pride, while the family he had discarded had risen to greatness. Desperate for a second chance, he decided to seek out Emma, hoping to find some way to make amends. But when Richard found Emma, still working at the bakery, she barely recognized him. He was a shadow of the man she had once known. "Emma, please," he begged, his voice hoarse. "I've lost everything." Emma looked at him, her heart heavy with pity but no sympathy. She signed slowly. "You made your choices, Richard. Now, you must live with them." And with that, she turned away, leaving him to face the consequences of his actions alone. Lily's hard work paid off when she completed her medical training and became a renowned specialist in treating deaf patients. She developed groundbreaking techniques that transformed the lives of countless people, and her name quickly spread throughout the country. By the time she was in her late 20s, Lily had become a millionaire, using her wealth not for luxury, but to help others in need. With her newfound success, Lily returned to her hometown, her heart set on fulfilling the promise she made to her mother. She bought a beautiful house with a garden, the kind Emma had always dreamed of, and took Emma's hand, leading her through each room with tears streaming down their faces. "This is your home now," Lily signed, her fingers trembling. "No more worrying." Emma couldn't stop the tears from falling. She had always believed in Lily, but to see her daughter achieve so much was overwhelming. "You've made me prouder than you'll ever know," she signed back, her heart swelling with love and pride. But Lily didn't stop there. She opened a hospital dedicated to treating deaf patients, offering affordable care to those who needed it most. The hospital became a beacon of hope, and people traveled from all over the country to seek treatment. Through it all, Lily remained humble, always crediting her mother's love and sacrifice as the true source of her strength. Their journey had come full circle, and for the first time in a long time, they felt a deep sense of peace. Lily's hospital quickly became renowned for its compassionate care and cutting-edge treatments. But more than that, it became a place where the deaf community felt understood and valued. Lily ensured that every patient was treated with respect, often taking the time to personally interact with those who felt lost or hopeless, just as her mother once had. She didn't see herself as a millionaire or a famous doctor. She saw herself as a bridge, connecting people who were often overlooked by society. Emma, now living comfortably in the home Lily had bought, found a new purpose. She became an advocate for the hospital, volunteering her time to counsel families and patients. Despite her quiet nature, Emma's presence was powerful. She was living proof that even in the face of adversity, one could overcome and find happiness. As patients and their families shared their stories with Emma, they felt her genuine empathy, and many began to view her as a symbol of hope. One day, Lily decided to honor her mother in a special way. During the hospital's annual fundraising gala, she took to the stage and shared their story, the struggles, the pain, and the perseverance. "This hospital exists because of my mother," Lily said, her voice steady and clear. "She taught me that no matter how hard life gets, we must never give up." The audience, moved by her words, erupted into applause, and Emma, sitting in the front row, felt tears of pride and gratitude streaming down her face. Meanwhile, Richard's life continued to spiral downward. With no job, no home, and his health rapidly deteriorating, he finally decided to swallow his pride and seek out his daughter. He had nothing left to lose. One rainy afternoon, Richard staggered into the lobby of Lily's hospital, his clothes soaked and his face gaunt. He looked around at the bustling modern facility, feeling a pang of regret for all he had lost. Mustering the last of his courage, he approached the receptionist and asked to see Lily. When Lily appeared, she hardly recognized the man standing before her. He was frail, hunched over, and his eyes were hollow. "Lily," he croaked, tears pooling in his eyes. "It's me, your father. I need your help." There was a moment of silence as Lily stared at him, emotions swirling in her chest. The man who had abandoned her and her mother stood before her, broken and defeated. "I can't help you," Lily said calmly, though her heart ached. "Not after what you did to us." Richard fell to his knees, begging, "Please, I have nowhere else to go. I'm sick. I have no one." Lily took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering. "You made your choices, Dad," she replied, her voice tinged with sadness. "Now you must live with them, just like we had to." She turned and walked away, leaving Richard to face the emptiness he had created for himself. News of Lily's hospital and her journey spread throughout the town, and the community rallied to support her mission. The people who had once gossiped about Emma and Lily's struggles now admired them for their resilience and strength. One by one, local businesses and families stepped forward, offering donations, volunteering their time, and spreading the word about Lily's work. A special ceremony was organized to honor Lily and Emma, where townspeople gathered to express their gratitude. As the mayor took the stage, he spoke about how the hospital had changed the lives of so many. "Lily and Emma represent the best of us," he said. "They've shown us what it means to be kind, to fight for what's right, and to never give up." Emma, standing beside her daughter, felt a sense of pride so deep that she could barely hold back her tears. Then, an unexpected visitor approached them. Mrs. Johnson, a neighbor who had once turned her back on Emma when Richard threw them out. With tears in her eyes, she apologized. "I judged you, Emma," she confessed. "I didn't understand your strength, but now I see how wrong I was. You've inspired us all." Emma simply smiled and signed, "Thank you," accepting the apology with the grace she had carried all her life. Alone, sick, and without hope, Richard's life finally came to an end on a cold winter's night. He passed away in a shelter, surrounded by strangers who didn't know his name or the life he had wasted. The man who had once believed he was too good for his family left this world with nothing, his name forgotten by the very people he had pushed away. His death went unnoticed by most, and only a brief mention in the local newspaper marked his passing. There was no one to mourn him, no one to say goodbye. Richard had lived a life of selfishness and bitterness, and in the end, he paid the ultimate price for his choices. When word of his passing eventually reached Lily, she felt a momentary pang of sadness. Despite everything, he had been her father. But instead of dwelling on the pain he had caused, she chose to focus on the life she and her mother had built, the love they had shared, and the strength they had found in one another. "Goodbye, Dad," she whispered, feeling a sense of closure wash over her. It was the end of one chapter, and the beginning of a new one. Years later, as Emma and Lily stood outside the hospital they had built together, they took a moment to reflect on their journey. The wind gently rustled the trees, and the evening sun cast a warm glow over the building, now bustling with patients and staff. "We did it, Mom," Lily signed, her heart full. "We really did it." Emma nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "You made everything possible," she signed back, her hands trembling with emotion. "You turned our pain into something beautiful." The hospital had become more than just a place of healing. It was a symbol of hope, love, and resilience. It stood as a testament to the power of kindness, hard work, and unwavering belief in oneself. Emma had found peace in knowing that her daughter had not only achieved her dreams, but had also changed the lives of countless others in the process. As they walked hand in hand through the hospital's gardens, Lily paused and turned to her mother. "What should we do next?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Emma smiled and signed, "Keep helping others, just as we always have." Their story had been one of struggle, sacrifice, and redemption. But in the end, they had emerged stronger and happier than ever before. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, mother and daughter stood side by side, knowing that fairness, love, and perseverance had led them to the life they had always deserved.
Thank you for watching today's video. If you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe to the channel to support us. Additionally, if you have any topics you would like us to cover, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below the video. We look forward to hearing your thoughts. See you in the next videos.